Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. And ladies, we are the Black Coffee. Our lips drip with honey, and sometimes we got a little bit of grit. We've got Sass Class and all that ass, y'all. And today, it's the National Women's Day of Rest for Black women. Who knew? So today, we're going to talk about mental health hacks for busy Black women. I'm Dr. Jemecia, the nurse practitioner extraordinaire. I'm also your intermittent fasting and mindset coach, YouTube influencer, speaker, author, all the things, and 1/3 of Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. And I'm going to pass it on over to you, Carmelle. The mic's yours.
Hello, everyone. I am Coach Carmelle. I am your whole food, plant-based, vegan, fitness, and nutrition coach, and I'm here to encourage everybody to add more plants to your plate. And Maisha, go for it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maisha, and I don't have a large intro anymore, so carry on.
So what's going on, y'all? Tonight, we're going to talk about mental health hacks for busy Black women and the importance of rest and peace and taking some time for yourself. We're also going to touch on today the significance of December the 2nd. We're going to, of course, pass it up to this one right here. She's like a walking encyclopedia. I don't even know how she does it. But anyway, I really like this topic today. I really do, because this happens to be the Monday after Thanksgiving. And we put a lot into that day. We, as in Black women, I know I do. And I know it's generational. We've done that. Now, I don't know that every Black woman does, but I know a lot of us do. And sometimes we forget to just take a moment and pause and take a deep breath and spend some time taking care of ourselves. And so, y'all, this Thanksgiving, I was really feeling overwhelmed. I had a great time. I did. But there were moments when I felt like I could just lay on this floor right here in the middle of the kitchen and lay down because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. So I did want to talk about some of that, and how was your weekend, and how was Thanksgiving, and what was your favorite thing? What tell me about it. So for you, Maisha, I know you spend your time a little bit different, but tell me, how was your weekend and how was your holiday?
Yeah, so I'm all like power to the people, so I don't do Thanksgiving. I've never liked Thanksgiving, even as a child. So thankfully, we don't have to do that particular day anymore. And so but the compromise was that we would still have some of the food, because my youngest was like, I still want a big meal. I was like, fine. For the record, I do not generally enjoy cooking large meals because it is overwhelming and it is a lot to do. And I don't do it alone. My children are involved in the process of cooking. You will not find me in a kitchen cooking for tons of people all by myself. So they were shredding cheese and they were cutting potatoes. And it's like, if you want to eat this food, you are going to be a part of this process. That's how this is going to work. So then that was okay, but it was still a lot to do. And it didn't matter like when I started. It doesn't matter when I started. It always seems like you run out of time. And I so dislike eating at 7 p.m. I didn't like it when we went to my grandmother's house and did it. I don't like it now. So we ended up eating at like 7 p.m. But the fun was that I made 2 chickens because I'm not doing turkey. And I'm not doing turkey. So I made 2 chickens and had them in a Pyrex glass pan, if you will, and not putting my science hat on. The pan was really hot, and I wanted to add some water to it. So when I went to add water to the pan, it set on fire in the oven. So then the glass broke underneath the chickens. So then I turn off the oven, take the whole rack out, and then there's all of this like speculation. Is the chicken still good? Can we still eat it? Is there glass in it? And my children, who will never be deterred from eating, are like, it's just large pieces. Nothing neat. We can just cut off the top of the chicken there, and it'll still be good. And my brother and his wife are there, and my brother's like, because the mac and cheese was on top. My brother's like, but is the macaroni and cheese okay? And it's like, yes, the macaroni and cheese is fine. He's like, all right, then we're good. So that was the fun. The smoke alarm went off, had to open the door, fanning the smoke detectors, and here's me going, and this is why I abhor cooking all of these large things, like not my thing. So that was how Friday went, which is when we ate, but it was still fun times, great conversation, which is what I really love. My pies were tremendous. My youngest had the nerve to see if I was gonna buy a pie crust. I don't buy pie crust, I make my own.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, yes. So my pies were good, sweet potato and pumpkin, because we're a little white here. And had my mashed potatoes, no potato salad, because again, not all the way black with that. I did have collard greens. I did have broccoli. I didn't have enough time to make the salad because I was trying to balance out the starches with the vegetables, but I was done. And I did have some candied yams. So I didn't get to make my rolls, but the dough was in the refrigerator. So it was all in all, it was a fun Friday evening, hanging out with my kids, my brother, his wife, and just having a lot of introspective and it's like a therapy session with these people. But it was good. It was fun outside of the fire in my oven.
Well, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. Now, Tay says, girl, that chicken is still good.
Oh yes, yes, ma'am. It was. And did they eat it? They absolutely did. They absolutely did. Yes.
And Mark says, celebrating all of you queens. Props to you for this. Thank you and thank you.
Now I will say I did sleep a lot. Like the next day, I've not gotten 7 hours of sleep in a very, very, very long time. I slept a lot and took a nap, and and the rest of my weekend was full too. I forgot what I did. My sorority, the youth auxiliary, they had a moving up ceremony, so I went to go help out with that on Sunday. And that was fun to see. And yeah, still just training for work. So I was tired. I took naps and got a full night's sleep. But I'm good now.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm ready. I'm ready for the rest of the week.
Okay, cool. What about you, Carmel? How was your Thanksgiving? How was your weekend? Did you get any rest?
I did. So just like you, Maisha, I got some full night's sleep. Like I took the 4 days, right? Thursday, the traditional Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday. It was just lovely. I was here with my sister, and we didn't really celebrate Thanksgiving. And last year we kind of did the same. I feel like since I lost my parents, every Thanksgiving dwindles down to a little bit of nothing. And it's interesting because I'm thinking I've never asked my mom, why do we celebrate Thanksgiving here? They came in the 70s, and I'm sure it was for us not to feel like we weren't Americans, right? But growing up, I remember one year as an adult thinking, none of the food that we're eating is Thanksgiving food. The only thing on here that's American Thanksgiving food is this turkey. Everything else is Haitian. So we very much had a Haitian Thanksgiving. And then I turned white, right, Maisha? Because then I'm like, oh, we got to do the white potatoes just like the Americans do. Oh, we got to do, because I didn't know about like the sweet potatoes and how Americans did it with all that extra sugar. If I was onto that, ooh, it would have been a thing. I'm like, Mom, this is how we have to do it. But we didn't know about any of that. Cranberry sauce out the can. We were like, oh, right. That's what the Americans do. Let's do it. But now we were full grown adults by that time. So Thanksgiving started looking like American Thanksgiving to us when we were like in college, in our 20s already. And then again, Dad passed, and then we lost Mom, And so every year it looked a little different. Last few years, it looked very vegan, right? And to now where it doesn't look like much of anything. It's that Thursday. Thanksgiving is so adaptable, all about the love and fellowship, 100%. So we would get together. It would be beautiful time had by everyone, but we never ate as late as 7 p.m. We would wake up at 9 o'clock. My mom was halfway done with the turkey, and she was just like, everybody go wash up because dinner will be ready at noon. It was kind of one of those things. So we ate early, and then we ate a little bit later, and then we ate still a little bit later. So we got to enjoy like all day. So, but I was so okay. It was Thursday. It was Thursday. And, I just acknowledged the day. And I'm grateful that there is a day where we could actually stop for a second, except for you, Dr. J, and all the other people who really take it seriously. I saw a reel where this woman was like, she was reprimanding one of her daughters or nieces or somebody, saying, Thanksgiving is not the day that you just try something. It's not for experiments. You do the things that we always did. Like, it was a serious reel. She was not happy with her daughter or whoever it was that was trying something new on Thanksgiving. Don't do that. I thought that was cute. But yeah, and then the rest of the weekend was a little bit of spring cleaning in this apartment. So this apartment's looking a little crazy right now. Don't look too much behind me, but and we got a chance to rest and just watch TV. And we watched a Christmas movie, one of those love songs, like the one with Christine
Million. Yes, falling for. Let me see you next Christmas. Meet you next Christmas.
Next Christmas, yeah. So that was cute. Those are always fun. It was fun.
Cute. Yeah.
So that was my weekend.
Well, good. And I feel like the young lady said, it's adaptable and it's about the love and the fellowship. So however that happened, and whatever. For me, it was a house full of people. We didn't have the 21 that we had last year, but we had 13. And it was good. We did a drink contest. So everybody, and I'm going to put this reel up eventually, but everybody came in with this drink contest thing going on. So we did holiday drinks. And everybody came in with their drink, and, we videotaped and all that good stuff. And we had a contest to see who was going to win or whatever. And it was good. Mind you, I could not drink all of that cocktails because I'm not a drinker like that. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. The food was amazing. It was great. My kids chipped in this year, of course, all the stuff we do. It was great. It really was. I was just tired. But we're like you, Carmelle. We normally eat at noon. I grew up eating at noon. And so now, since I'm on the East Coast, we eat at 2.
Okay.
So yeah, we eat at 2. And then maybe somebody will eat again later, but it gives you time to digest and then have some dessert. And we play games, and we had to, of course, all that stuff. So that was going on. But in the midst of all of that, I found that I still felt a little bit challenged mentally, physically, all of that. A lot of emotions going around. My brother and sister didn't come. So anyway, this mental health hacks for Black women on this day, I think, is amazing that we're talking about it. So Maisha, can you kind of introduce this day as to how we would go about it and what it means? Yes.
Yeah. So I found out I'm scrolling through Instagram and saw a post that said December 2nd would be a National Day of Rest for Black women. And this is largely in response to the way we all galvanized, the over 90% of us who galvanized during this presidential election in our efforts to do as we do and try and save this country. And it was like, nah, okay, we're finished. Okay, we're done. And so it was like on December 2nd, stay home, don't shop, don't do nothing, just rest. We deserve to rest. And we are the demographic that is least likely to actually rest. For some of us, it's uncomfortable to do so. And so I found it on Instagram account 25_BWB. It's Black Beauty or something like that. And then I started seeing it in other places. So it was picking up steam. So I was like, well, you don't have to tell me twice. You already know. I'm here for the resting. Okay. This country can drown as far as I'm concerned at this point. So I took today to rest. And I think that it is important, especially after I don't know why Thanksgiving always seems to be so much bigger in the Black community than Christmas, which is quite ironic to me, given how both holidays present. but especially after Thanksgiving, and then knowing that everybody's got to travel or go back to work on Monday or whatever have you, I think it was very fitting to have a day of rest after all of that. Anyway, I think that we should do that, just period. So that's how I found out about it. I hope it's something that continues year after year. I hope more of us do it. I think it's a great way to show this country what our spending power looks like when we take at least a day and don't spend any money anywhere. I've got my own ideas about how long we should do that for, but that's another conversation. But that's what today is. So today is the National Day of Rest for Black women. I don't know officially who started it, but it goes along with mental health hacks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to ask all of you, what are some of the first signs that you notice that your mental health or your self-care needs attention? And I'll start with you, Carmelle.
First signs that I feel like my mental health needs attention. When I start questioning my life, like what are you doing? Why are you living this way? What is all this about? That's when I know that, I need to take a deep breath and just understand that I'm going through something right now, and just give myself a little bit of grace, for not to sound so, typical or whatever, but just to kind of like say, just to recognize and acknowledge that something is not aligned with my spirit, and for me to take notice, because they don't last for me. When I look around and I feel like that, I just kind of like make small resolutions in my mind, in my heart, and I keep it moving. Whether or not they get resolved, I feel like it's important to acknowledge it and not to push it and suppress it.
Okay. What about you, Maisha? What are some of the first signs that your mental health needs attention, or that you need some more self-care?
When I'm enraged and every human pisses me off, and when I find myself feeling like I'm in a depressive state where nothing's working out, oh my God, woe is me, everything sucks. Either one of those two let me know that I need to take a pause for the cause. But lately, it's been more of when my fuse is really short and I can feel it inside of me, I know that I need to go and do something for myself.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. The acknowledgement is good, and it's huge, especially for busy women, to acknowledge, like, okay, something's off here, something isn't right. I need to take care of myself. And noticing again, when we have that short fuse, when we have that irritability with everybody, everybody's pissing you off. For me too, more than anything, for me, when I'm checking myself on my compassion, on my love for my fellow man, when my fuse is short, that's when I take notice. Like you said, when everything gets on my nerves, when every little thing, and I feel like, okay, I'm taking too much time doing this, or I'm taking too much time, it's like, okay, stay still, take a breath, get it together. And oftentimes I find that I am just exhausted, whether it's mentally or physically. Either way, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So I take notice. That's when I know when I am not compassionate, when I am not that overly touchy-feely, wanting to help, wanting to fix types things, that I'm stressed. I'm overstressed. My mental health is just going over the deep end. And I was talking to a young lady that I'm working with. And she said that what her and her lady friends do after Thanksgiving, all of the ladies involved, the next day, the very next day after Thanksgiving, they all go to the spa. They spend all day at the spa while the men take themselves either to Dave and Buster's or to Apex or to somewhere to let off steam while they're over there getting massages, the sauna, the steam room, the lunch, the little nap they get, the everything taking care of themselves the day after Thanksgiving. Every year they do highs and lows. Like what was the high? What was the low of the holiday? Just all of these beautiful techniques. And I'm like, wow,
I like
I
that.
need a spa day.
I love that.
I do too. Yeah. So Raider Stiller fan says long work hours may increase the risk of injuries and accidents and can contribute to poor health and worker fatigue. Definitely. Definitely. So there are some things here that I found that are helpful. So I wanted to share. Um, well, actually, we can all just kind of talk about what are some practices or some quick practices that we do or use to help reduce stress in our lives.
I start writing myself these lists of things to do, and not for me, and not even so much to check off, but just for me to see it on paper so I don't feel so overwhelmed. It's kind of like a dump, kind of like this is what I have to do. Let me just see it in front of me. Oh, that's not so bad. Oh, that's easy. Oh, what, Carmel, what are you so worried about? Um, so that's one of the things. It's almost kind of like journaling, but it's kind of like a list of the things that is occupying my mind and making me feel overwhelmed or anxious. So that's one of the things that I do. Another thing that I do every morning before I get out of bed, I practice breathing techniques, and every night as I go to bed, I practice breathing techniques. And I've said it before that it takes a lot for me to get upset or to care about certain things. Like I feel like I have this sense of nothing is really urgent if someone is not dying. Like it's not an emergency unless someone is literally dying. And I work in an industry where somebody can be, right? Like construction workers can be. And and I'm not quite sure where that comes from. I'm not sure if it's because I got started in multi-level marketing when I was just in my late 20s and early 30s and read all kinds of self-help books. I'm not sure if it's just my disposition. I'm not sure if I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I need to care more, but I feel like I have a really good sense of balance and control, and grateful for it. But when I do feel anxious and everything, I revert back to the breathing and the dumping and the journaling and listening to music and moving my body, going out for a run. I can attribute a lot of that too because I'm constantly exercising and exerting a lot of energy. So there you have it.
Yeah, breathing is amazing. It's amazing what a good breathing technique can do when you're up here
Yeah.
and you need to just kind of come down some.
Yeah.
So what about you, Maisha?
I was
Something
saying as Carmelle was talking, this is my pad that I keep right next to my computer so I can write stuff down as well as I remember it so I can go, oh, okay, I'll just cross it off as it gets done and I feel better about it.
Yeah.
Pretty much almost everything that Carmelle said. Self-pleasure for sure. Throw that one in there as a stress relieving technique. The breathing, meditation, uh, dancing, moving, shaking out my body, uh, watching the Christmas rom-coms is like it's such a fun thing for me to do, and it's just like let me just transport myself into this little idyllic world, this corny ass world for 2 hours, and it's like, oh, and then I come out and I just, I'm just feeling better, even though I know the whole storyline for all of them now, but it's still fun, it's still fun to watch. So that's something that I'll do as well when I feel like I'm feeling stressed. I'll just shut everything down, and whatever needs to happen is just going to have to wait, because if I try and do it while I'm stressed, chances are greater that I will approach a person wrong or I'll make mistakes. So better for me to kind of retreat, get it together, and then move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. For me too, the journaling, the meditation, and sometimes I have to cry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just have to cry,
Yeah.
get some tears out, and
Yes.
it seems like it just cleanses me, and it makes room for me to breathe again.
Yeah.
I just have to let it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to. I don't want to. It's like I don't want to cry right now because I don't know how long this cry is going to take. I
Right.
don't know if it's gonna take too long. And don't look at yourself in the mirror because it's going to take longer because you're going to be looking crazy.
That is true.
Yes, and if I so it's like a double-edged sword because sometimes I look in the mirror and I will talk to myself, to my younger self. I'll talk
Mm.
to my middle self, and then I'll talk to myself now, and it's like, and then it turns into this thing. But it helps. It helps. It helps. Let me tell you. So I do that. And another thing I do, I make a loud noise, a grunt, and that helps too. It really does. If I need to just keep going,
Yeah.
and I can't, I don't have the if I'm working or if I don't have the ability to just get away, I have to do that grunt. I can't be crying in a meeting or whatever. So that helps me making that loud grunt sound. It's like I'm telling you, it works for me. But I have to do it once or twice. So that works. Those are just a couple things that I do.
I don't know if I ever told y'all that I probably did or did it on one live stream when I was having a day. I was having a day. I don't even remember what was going on, but I remember I was having a day and I'm walking in Midtown, Manhattan, and I wanted to scream, but there was no way that was going to happen, right? Without cops being called. And so when I was headed to a doctor's appointment, and when I got there and I was in the elevator by myself, I was literally in the elevator like, fuck. Like shit. Like, I was just like letting it go. By the time I got to the floor, the doors open. I'm like, okay. But I really just had to I knew I had to get it out because I could feel it in my chest and it had to come out somehow.
Oh, I don't know if I would have had the guts to do that. I always think that the door would open and people they're like, what is happening?
Yeah,
Who's
yeah,
hurting you?
I thought they might think that too. And I already know I'm gonna say, look, I just needed a moment. And if it's a woman, she's probably gonna say, I know that's right. Like she's probably gonna be like, I hear you. Listen, now I have a new place.
You ladies have seen the woods the park that I go to where I run. What a beautiful, amazing place. So much crying has happened in those woods during my walks and during my runs and when I'm alone and so much of it. And so much I'm gonna say even healing. I've grounded in there. I've hugged trees. I just sometimes just stop and just take a look at the beauty that's around me and my privileges and remembering those things also I feel is a nice technique for me just to remember not to discount what I might be feeling but to just know and understand that I'm so blessed and privileged and not many people get to experience this on a daily basis. I mean it is literally right outside my door and I'm so thankful for it, grateful for it. I acknowledge it. I know it. I recognize it. And so that in and of itself is very healing. And it's one of my techniques, knowing that I have something so close where I can go out in the woods and scream and nobody's going to come running and be like, I'm going to call the police or you being attacked. So yeah, that's one of my things too that you mentioned. That yelling.
That sounds nice.
So what about the power of saying no and not feeling guilty? How do we navigate that? How do we change or shift the mindset? Because saying no, right? When saying no to someone else is saying kind of yes to yourself, right?
Yeah.
But often women, Black women, have a hard time saying no. How do we shift that and make it a guiltless situation sometimes in order to protect our mental health? Practice for one thing. That's for sure. You got to practice it.
Yeah, so I don't really have an answer for that at this point. I have to think about that. It was something that I would teach women, but I've moved so far down the line of that it's difficult for me to say, because like my first answer is you say no.
Just say no.
Right, you just say no. And
Mhm.
it's and I've heard it, but what if, and the what ifs and the what if, and my response to that at this point is kind of like, I don't I don't give a fuck. Like just and so I don't have any guilt anymore around saying no to most things. There's only one area left that I've had to work on um with that. But like at work or any place else where a lot of us might feel that pressure with my kids, nah. The answer is no. I think what you said is key, the practice
Mhm.
of doing it. And what I have suggested to women, I have literally given the assignment of saying yes if they weren't able to say no. So like you said, saying no is saying yes to yourself.
Mhm.
If saying no felt like too hard a starting point because it felt mean or not nice,
Mhm.
then my assignment for them would be, well, you have to say yes to everything that it is that you want to do.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you. I'd like that. Yes, for me. Yes, more, please. Yes,
Mhm.
I'll take that. Right? Because that's when we'll say no. No, it's enough
Mhm.
already. No. So then the assignment was to say yes, and through that they were able to figure out how to say no sometimes. So that would be a starting point.
Mhm. That's good.
I feel okay. So this weekend, I learned of something that's happening, and it's a Christmas party, and I was like, "Ooh, is anybody invited? I want to come." And so the person I was speaking to was like, "Yeah, come through, come through." So it would take me to jump in a car and drive for a few hours, spend the night, a lot. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, "Do I even want to deal with that?" And I'm thinking, and now today I was supposed to speak to this person who I kind of like said, "Hey, I want to come," and tell her that I've changed my mind because of the amount of effort and energy, and not that I don't have it, it's just the circumstances around it, that I could really use my time in a better way, and it's not really detrimental to anything, and it's almost FOMO, but it's kind of like, I don't really need to do this. And so I'm thinking to myself, how do I tell her without sounding like I'm coming up with all these excuses and justifications? And I'm like, well, you don't have to do all of that. Just be like, I changed my mind. Thank you for being so open to saying
Mhm.
yes to me. But after consideration, it's just not the best use of my time. And I feel so, in order to feel comfortable about saying no and no to others or invitations or things like that, and saying yes to yourself, is if you have to justify it to yourself, justify it, but make them really authentic, genuine justifications. Like, they have to be real reasons. And you know what? They don't even have to be real reasons. They're reasons for you. Because I just don't want to is a reason. And
Mhm.
it's good enough. And we have to stop caring about what other people, how they're gonna take it. They're gonna be all right. They're gonna be
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
They're gonna be okay. Are you going to be okay? And that's the number one thing. It's hard for people to make themselves the priority because we're so used to making sure that everybody else is accommodated and everybody else is happy. And we make sure that we uphold our integrity to other people, but we don't uphold our integrity to ourselves.
Mm.
And once we start thinking about it in terms like that, and making ourselves just as important, right? We are the most important, but oftentimes we don't treat ourselves as on the same level, but we have to start thinking of ourselves in terms of that.
Yeah. I like to use I think of saying, I think of giving my decisions like, when you don't know, and thankfully I don't think any of us have been arrested, but you don't say anything without your lawyer, so you don't say anything at all. That's how I view my responses. That's the stance that I took with responses. So, hey, thank you so much for the invite. I'm not going to be able to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's all I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and if somebody has a question, I can answer the question. But I think sometimes so I know for me, I used to give so much information.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like I had this I got trained that you have to give all of this explanation and information, and it's because of this, and the more you talk, the more it just starts to get much more muddled, and now they're formulating stories in their head. No, let's just keep it short and sweet. And I've done this with people. I'm like, hey, unfortunately I can't make it, but I really hope you have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really all I say from now on. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's so good.
Yeah,
That's so good.
very much so.
Mhm.
So uh, the other thing too that
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was deep, Carmel. We uphold our integrity to everyone else, but not to ourselves. I was like, oof.
yeah, yeah, it
It's
was.
true.
It's the truth. It's true, and we have to do better. And in doing better, we do better for the people that we love and care for. Um,
Mhm.
and the other thing too that's important to remember with these mental health hacks, which is not really much of a hack, but they are, is to remember that one, from a health standpoint, we need to stay hydrated, and two, we need to sleep.
Yeah.
We need to sleep. We need to rest and recharge. That's where all of the good stuff happens. So we need to remember that. And it's not just grind, 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 grind to death and not any rest. Although sometimes we feel like we have to do so much to get to the next level because of who we are, Black women. Um, Honestly, it does us no good if we're not healthy with all this money, or we're dead and then we didn't enjoy the money or whatever. So it's important that we get our rest and that we stay hydrated so we don't get sick and feel awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yes. I highly encourage everyone to read Rest is Resistance. I know I already told y'all about that book, but Rest is Resistance. Very important book, I think, for Black folks to read and go rest. That's one of the most important things we can do for our mental health is go rest.
hmm yeah.
And back to what you were saying before, Maisha, when you were just saying that no, right? And no other explanation, information is needed or required. I remember this one girl just kind of like, we were like, are you hanging out with us tonight? She was like, no. I remember feeling so offended initially. Like, what do you mean no? Like, what are you doing? What else could you possibly be doing? And then in retrospect, I'm like, I respected her answer so much. And the reason why I was offended was because I didn't have the audacity to answer that way.
Right.
hmm
Same.
Yeah.
hmm
Same. When I would meet women like that, I'd just be like, that's it? Like, where's the
Right.
story? Where's that? Like, that's it?
Right. Right. Yes.
And so the last thing, y'all, that I want to mention before we get off is setting boundaries. Boundaries within your home, within your safe haven, within your room, within the place that you rest and have relaxation. Do not bring in work. Do not bring your phone in. If you're off work, don't answer the call. It's going to be okay. Don't feel like you have to answer. If it's the weekend and they call you, don't answer. Set boundaries. You're important, I promise you, but if something happened, they're going to replace you.
Yeah.
It's going to get done.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Except
100%.
except for me during this season, because when you work in for 4 months, it's really hard to not, because everybody's like at you like all every day. But once I'm finished, then no, don't call me.
But even then, you could set boundaries within all that,
I, d-
Maisha, right?
yeah, I do, and I have. I even had I had someone give a client my phone number. Now I have a phone number specifically for work, and and some client reached out to me, and I was like, what the hell? And I had to talk to the tax pro, and I was like, don't give my number to clients. They can
Mhm.
email me. Like, what
Mhm.
the? So yes, I do have some boundaries that are set around that. And it's funny
Yeah.
you mentioning that, Dr. Jemecia. Who was I talking to? I don't remember who I was talking to. But we were talking about the difference between boundaries and rules. I don't think it was y'all. Was it a live stream? But boundaries are the reason why I think boundaries are so difficult is because they require us to be responsible. So a rule is, um, you're not going to make me eat that, or don't give that to me. So the rule depends on someone else's behavior, whereas the boundary depends on your behavior, and the boundary is, no, I'm not going to eat that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so for a lot of people, it's easier to try to impose the rule on someone else and try and modify their behavior, which we can't ever really actually do. We try our best with children, but even still, they have their own ways of being as well. But the boundary is, no matter what your behavior is, this is what I'm not going to tolerate. And if I don't want to tolerate it, I'm just not going to be in this space. Versus you need to act a certain way for me to be in this space.
Right.
So that's the
Maisha,
boundary.
I love that because everybody who's ever worked for me, I tell them 5 o'clock, if you're still here, I'm not going to ask you to do anything. If you walk out the door and I can't find something that you last work on, I'm not going to call you. I'm not even going to send you an email. Just write myself a note and remember to ask you tomorrow. I will never call you on the weekend. And I would tell these people this. And guess what? They return the favor.
Mm-hmm.
They don't bother me when I'm having lunch. They don't bother me if they can't find anything. If I'm not around, they need an answer. They figure it out. They don't call me on the weekend. I don't even have to ask them to do that. I showed them that that's not happening. I'm not asking you to do anything after 5 o'clock. If you decide to stay and work late to make sure that you get all your work done, it's not if we're having a conversation, it's not going to be about work, right? And so they return that. And so I feel like it's important to even show people that I respect your boundaries, and they will return that. Not only will they acknowledge it, but they'll return it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Villa, I hear you. I can't modify their behavior, but I can choose to remove people. Absolutely. And for me, I kind of say it the opposite, same thing. Because I don't know if I can remove a person, but I can always remove myself.
Mm-hmm.
People may stay where they're going to say, I'm going to remove myself. That's how I see it, because otherwise I might be waiting for somebody else to make moves. But yeah, we can't always modify the behavior of others, and so the boundaries are there for us to say, I'm not. What did I say? It's like going to a party with somebody and that they're gonna act a fool. Whose fault is that? Right? And then try to tell them, you better act right when we get in this party, because I know how you can be. No, I better not be with you.
Yeah.
Because I know how you can be. I'm just not gonna be with you. Oh, that's a boundary versus a rule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she also says that no lies detected. Get somebody else to do it. #boundaries.
Yes. Get someone else to do it.
Somebody else to do it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And it's okay for us to do that. And there was a lot of that. I saw a lot of talk of that on I've not been on social media as much since I've like shut business stuff down, and it feels so amazing to I realized I have been marketing on social media since 2010. So I'm tired. I'm over it at this point. So 14 years of that. But there was a lot of conversation about people being able to set boundaries. And I experienced some of that in my own family, because there were ways of being that children should be. And, sometimes ways that my grandmother was just like, hey, stop that. And I would have to pause my child and say, tell my grandmother, that's not how this works here. And I know that that's hard for a lot of Black women to do, right? Because that's your grandmother. It's not hard for me when it comes to my children. So this is not what's going to happen here. And I'm the type of person where it's like, and I'm okay with not coming back. I'm okay with that. Right? You don't have to change who you are, and I don't need to change who I am. And we can love each other unconditionally from afar.
Absolutely. And also, Vela J says, I've come into a new Vela between turning 50 and now 52. I'm standing firm on boundaries, and it's non-negotiable. I hear you. I think once you hit 50, really 45.
it just gets easier as we get older. We start to understand other people, ourselves, and the world a little bit better. And it's kind of like, what was my problem before? We just had to go through it. We just had to live through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think it's the time. Like when you're in your 20s and you feel like you have all this time in the world to entertain foolishness.
Mhm.
Like when you're older, like my hours count.
Oh, yes.
Right. And so like how much foolishness am I going to entertain when I could really be chilling watching a rom-com that brings me joy? So you really start to think about who you want to be around, if you're stepping out of your house, who all gonna be there, what's happening, what's the start time, what's the end time, so I can formulate what I'm doing. But it's not like it was for me when I was like 21. And I was never really like that, but I was more than I am now. It's like, okay, I'll just go out. Now I'm very, very choosy. Boundaries.
Absolutely. She said it was difficult because it had to do with family. And sometimes it's like that. You got to love from afar sometimes. And then they'll come back around. They sometimes self-correct too. Sometimes they start acting like they got some sense. But
Indeed.
This was a good conversation. So we'll just recap a couple of hacks for busy Black women. Definitely boundaries. Definitely getting rest. Definitely hydration. Definitely getting out in nature. Walk around. Take some breaks. Make some lists. Prioritize what's important and what's not. Take some breaks. Take some time off. Miss 570 hours of leave. We won't talk about that. But take some time. Get yourself some rest. And the work is going to be there when you get back, honestly.
And if you don't have a park or an elevator where you can scream into a pillow.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to let it out, or take some karate classes, because I did a lot of that too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Wait a minute. I want to highlight what she said here. No is a complete sentence. And we say that all the time. We say that here, Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits, all the time. It is a complete sentence. You don't have to elaborate. Now, if you're one of those people who feel guilty about saying no, you feel like you have to elaborate, but I promise you don't. I promise you do not. It's a no for me.
Right. It's the because I said so. Remember when Mom used to say, because I said so? Yeah, that's what we need to start practicing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on this National Day of Rest for Black women, I hope you all get some rest. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for having this conversation with us. And please like this video. It helps our content get out there. Send it to a friend if you want to. Subscribe to our channel. All that good stuff. We appreciate you being here on this Monday. We will be back to talk to you on Wednesday. Thank you so much again for being here. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye, guys.
Bye.